Welcome to our 5th HyoJeong Conference. My name is Kodai Abe.
And my name is Madoka Tsuchihara.
And we will be your MCs this evening. We thank God for allowing all of us to come together beyond national and cultural borders for the sake of pursuing a better tomorrow. And we want to take this time to especially thank our viewers from Korea, as well as the Korean veterans, since the theme of this event is healing the divided peninsula through the heart of sacrifice. We look forward to sharing this exciting event together with you. Before we begin the main portion of this conference, let's bring down the spirit through praise and worship. We have a musical performance by none other than Pastor Dietrich Haddon. He is the pastor of Hill City Church, as well as a Grammy-nominated singer, as well as a supervisor of YCLC. The video that we'll be playing is from an event Pastor Haddon held on April 4th called Resurrection Sunday, where many of the CARP students were able to attend and dance to one of his songs. The purpose was to create a revival here in America that can lead to the Korea reunification process. Without further ado, let's welcome Pastor Haddon, who will be performing his song On the Way, featuring the CARP Ballet dancers. Please enjoy.
But God calls individuals like the individuals you see here to make sure that we touch every single one of those young people and we make sure that they have the opportunity to receive God's grace in their life. And that's what I experienced through them. So I'm honored to introduce you to the CARP HyoJeong dancers. Thank you.
I want those hands up. Push 'em up. It's Jamaica's own DJ Nicholas. Well song, yeah. Push 'em up. This is Uganda, Trinidad and Tobago. Low. I woke up this morning so excited. Favor is in the air and I can't deny it. You see, something good is gonna happen. I can feel it in my soul. Whoa. Excuse me if I start dancing, 'cause somehow I know it's all the way. Say it now. All the way. I've been praying. I've been praying for this all the way. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, there ain't no delay. I believe this. I've been waiting for a long time, and it seems like opportunities have passed me by. Sometimes the blessing delayed doesn't mean that it's denied. Not at all. Never give up on your dreams. Gotta keep faith alive and believe it. All the way. Everybody in the place, I see you rocking with us. This one's for you to get out of your seat. Give God a praise because He's been sweet. Oh na 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 na. Dance like you're crazy for the Most High. Hey, so no matter what people say, I keep moving on 'cause it's on this way. I believe it's on. I believe it's on the way. I believe oh, it can begin any day. From the corner. It's on the way. It's on the way. I believe
Thank you, Pastor Haddon and the Carp Ballet dancers for that amazing song and dance. A powerful way to start our program for today. For those of you joining us for the first time, we would like to share a brief explanation of the HyoJeong Conference. Our mission statement is as follows. HyoJeong Conference is a global youth movement that raises passionate leaders with God-centered values to resolve the ideological conflict in the world in order to realize a unified Korea, which is the key to world peace. The word HyoJeong is a Korean term that means filial heart towards heaven. When we look at this world today, there are many problems and conflicts we see within the individual, the family, nation, and the world. In order for us to bring world peace that is centered on God, we need to bring reunification in the Korean Peninsula, which is a substantial manifestation of the divided world. That is why, as a movement, we are seeking to revive the heart of HyoJeong in the young people of the world today and heal this divided peninsula through a heart of sacrifice.
That's right. And the key to make the reunification process starts with you. We are all brought here through our common love of God, but not just in receiving love from God, but returning that love to God. Through taking responsibility and making action, can we start to see a shift in the world. The theme of this HyoJeong Conference is healing the divided peninsula through the heart of sacrifice. And we have just the right people to get us started in that direction this evening. I want to invite two special guests. Our first guest is Dr. Michael Jenkins, who is the president of Universal Peace Federation International. He has been working for decades for the sake of Korean reunification process. Our second guest is Congressman John Doolittle, who served in Congress for 18 years. He is currently the chairman of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace for North America. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome our next speakers, Dr. Michael Jenkins and Congressman Doolittle.
I bring you greetings from the Universal Peace Federation to all of our CARP leaders in over 30 universities throughout this country, and to Mr. Janelle Fleischman, who is the national president of CARP. We're very honored to be with you today for this special HyoJeong Conference called Healing the Divided Peninsula Through the Heart of Sacrifice. We are focused also with UPF on how to bring the peaceful reunification of Korea. And we have many programs that are involved with bringing people together, from the heads of state to members of Congress to faith leaders, business, media, and also academic leaders. And we would like your help, especially with those academic leaders, in working with our Association for Academia that will also bring the knowledge and wisdom of all these scholars to bring North and South Korea together. And I'm very grateful for your focus on this, because I think that as student leaders and student organizations, you have an enormous impact on government, on the culture and arts and media, as well as being able to bring the academic forum together. Just last week, we had a very special conference for the Washington Times. It was called the Washington Brief. And it is also supported by scholars and some very special officials of the U.S. government that have worked for many years, like Ambassador Christopher Hill spoke on he was ambassador to Korea. He spoke on how Korea might come together and the importance of America's role to be strong, but also to engage all the nations there. We also had a professor from Georgetown University, Dr. Alexander Manzaroff, and really outstanding expert on the situation. We had also programs in which we heard scholars from South America, Asia, and throughout the world. I was so impressed, because when you go in the realm of the universities generate experts on every topic. They study the most on each area. So if you invest yourselves through this conference and learning about the heart of Mother Moon to bring North and South Korea together, I think you're going to have a tremendous experience going forward, because she's calling for us to learn everything we can about North Korea and everything we can about how to bring things together. So one thing we learned also, there's many aspects of the people of North Korea. They're not just all military people. They're not just all government people. That's only a small percentage. That's less than 10% of the people are involved with government. The rest are regular Korean people that have the same culture and traditions as South Korea. That's why we believe it's natural for them to come together. We are very surprised to find out about the program that's being done for planting trees in North Korea. I hope the CARP can be involved with that, because they had volunteers from all over the world go to Korea and plant millions of trees, literally millions of trees, because of the severe situation in North Korea of starvation and poverty. And they had also used all the trees for wood and fire and heat. And so the mountains get completely deforested. And when that happens, then the water, when it rains, can't be stopped and floods come. And we had a program on this from scholars who showed that even Mother's hometown of Anju was flooded because of the deforestation. So I'd like to invite CARP at some point to join us for that time when we go to North Korea to plant trees and help stabilize the soil. At this time, I'd like to introduce my dear friend and colleague, who's the chairman of the IAPP, the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace for North America, a distinguished congressman that served 18 years in Congress and also has been an outstanding patriot for America. He's a man of faith. He's just a tremendous family man and leader in his church, the Church of Jesus Christ. He's also a man that sees the vision of the critical role of America. And that's why you as students will play a very critical role at really helping America really turn to God for direction. I'd like to welcome at this time Congressman John Doolittle.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Jenkins. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to have an opportunity to extend a greeting to you. It's the young people of the world, really, that I know you hear this said, but it's so very true. I wish you could really appreciate how true it is. You are the future leaders of the world, and what you do over the next 20 years could make a very, very significant difference. I know this conference is really focused on the unification of North and South Korea, and on the sacrifice that is required to bring that about. And I know that a big part of your values, as well as mine, involves service. So service and sacrifice are two really key principles. And it's the young people of the world who have the energy and the enthusiasm and the desire to make a difference in this life. And that's a very, very good thing. I think there are a couple of things that you can do to really make a difference here. One is to become informed. Dr. Jenkins referred to this. Become informed about Korea. Become informed about the evil of Marxism and communism, because this is the leading satanic force in the world today. And unfortunately, too many of our people throughout the world, including in the United States, are enamored of these satanic philosophies. You need to understand what exactly is involved with those philosophies. You need to recognize that in North Korea, some of the worst atrocities against human beings have been committed and are being committed in the entire world. Atrocities that rival those you've read about in the Holocaust under Hitler, or in the Soviet Union under Stalin, or in China under Mao Zedong. This is a very, very difficult problem that has continued to exist now for over 70 years. One of the things that can overcome this, two of the things, are service and sacrifice. And the third thing is prayer. Act within, other than becoming informed about Korea and about Marxism and communism, use your influence to tell others about the problem and what solutions are, and to urge them to pray for peace. You know, I got a button from the Universal Peace Federation last summer. It says, "Peace starts with me." Do what you can within your circle of influence to make a difference, and pray to God that He will bless your efforts. I wish you a very successful conference, and thank you for the opportunity to extend these greetings.
Thank you, Congressman Doolittle, and God bless you, CARP family, and your HyoJeong Conference. Have a great meeting.
Thank you so much for your powerful and encouraging messages, Dr. Jenkins and Congressman Doolittle. Thank you for sharing your hope in the young people. It is important that the young people are informed about the situation in Korea and the evil forces of communism. Not just in Korea, but communism is infiltrating the young people of the world today, including the United States. With our energy and desire to make a change, we can influence and impact the world through service, sacrifice, and our prayers to God. Up next, we have a musical performance by Matt Ishizuka. The song he will be singing is a fusion of two songs, Arirang and Imjingan. The song Arirang was made from the South Koreans wishing for a peaceful reunification of the Korean peninsula, while Imjingan was written from the North who also wished for the reunification. This goes to show that the heart of all of us wishing for the reunification is the same, so we combine the two songs together. Please enjoy this special performance of Arirang and Imjingan from Matt Ishizuka.
임진강 맑은 물을 훌러 내리고 물새들 자유로이 넘나들며 날고만 내 고향 남쪽 땅 가고파도 못 가니 임진강 부르마 원한 짚고 흐르냐 임진강 하늘 높이 우직에서는 나 옛 친구들 반에서 내 이름을 부를 때 내 마음 고향 모습 추억 속에 사라져도 임진강 부르물 가르지는 못하리라 임진강 부르물 가르지는 못하리라.
Thank you, Matt Ishizuka, for the song. We can really feel the anguish of the people of North and South Korea, seeking for the reunification of the Korean Peninsula. Even though we may feel a heart of anguish, we can come to recognize that God feels the deepest anguish above all. I'm sure there are many individuals who recognize this and want to alleviate the pain from him and the people in the Korean Peninsula. Such individuals are the two sisters, Tomomi Fukuda and Eunbi Chae, who will be sharing their testimony with us today. Being half Japanese and half Korean themselves, they have recognized the significance of bringing peace to their motherland and continue to seek to support the reunification of the Korean Peninsula. Now at this time, please help me welcome Tomomi Fukuda, followed by Eunbi Chae.
Hello everyone, my name is Tomomi. I am very honored to be able to speak at this HyoJeong Conference where youth from all over the world, including the United States, together to discuss the issue of North and South division and the importance of reunification of the Korean Peninsula. As part of international exchange program I participated in when I was junior, I went to South Korea together with Korea youth to raise funds and march for peace at DMZ, which is the border between North and South Korea. At the time, I knew very little about the situation and history of the Korean Peninsula. However, I still vividly remember the scene at DMZ, and it seems to me it symbolized the world we live in. It's not ideal society, but one of the many issues and barriers, such as national borders, ethnicity, and religions, economies, that we need to resolve. Korean people are divided by the differences in ideology between communism and democracy. And there are still many separate people who suffer. About 70 years have passed and the world is still in the state of truth. How can there be peace and happiness and development in the divided society? Father Moon and Mother Moon, who dedicate their lives to God's desire and world peace, taught us the importance of unification, and God and true love are at the center of it, saying, now, what should we do about reunification? How will we unite and achieve a peaceful world? It means that we should unite with God at the center and achieve peace. Even with uniting with God at the center, God's wish is to make humanity one and peaceful. I truly believe that the unification of the Korean Peninsula will not only unify the Korean nation, but will also bring about great progress for world peace and unification in society we live in today. The solution to the conflicts between religions and ethnic groups and nations is to return to God's desire and God's love. I especially hope that we, the youth of United States, who still have Christian spirit, will take an interest and stand for justice that make this world one full of God's love. Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, my name is Michae. Today I am so honored to be here as a representative of Korean identity. Today, let me testify why Korean Peninsula is important for the world and how people's ideological conflict can be resolved. You may be wondering how and why unification of the Korean Peninsula contributes to peaceful world. Most causes of many conflicts in the world are because of differences in idea. The conflict of idea in the past was battle with weapon, but now we have been in invisible battle. In this era, cultural communism is under the various field rather than the communism using weapon, and you can wonder the current situation poor young people don't know about the history are influenced by cultural communism and create gaps between people. This comparison is very, very similar to the sign of the Cultural Revolution that killed many people in China in 1966. Today, it is undergoing the Cultural Revolution on global basis, not on China basis anymore. The world is in crisis now. On the other hand, now Mother Hang Hak-moon testifies about the existence and importance of God to many world leaders and people, and she tries this solution that as many as people can be led to God and the realization of God's original human family every single day. As you can see, in this way, the battle between God and Satan still exists. However, this battle is not a fighting of which wins or loses. It's a love battle, how we, on God's side, can guide them with true love and ultimately restore them who cannot believe in God. So, how can you guide them? Extreme conservative values does not change the world. Of course, extreme liberal values does not change the world. If there is a division, peace will not come there forever. We must integrate those two values in the well-balanced way and create the world which people of any ideology should not be left behind. But can it really be possible to resolve people's ideological conflict? Yes, it is possible. Due to ideology, South Korea and North Korea are still divided despite being of the same ethnic group. If two countries in the ideological conflict can be unified, it is possible to prove that the ideological conflict in the world has been lasting over many years also can be resolved. From this point of view, Korean Peninsula can be recognized as having the impact for the world and being very important. But unity will not be achieved without the existence of God. We are originally one family under God. This is why Korean people must call back the spirits of Christianity and return to the true love of God's blossom. We must never forget that Korean people are important tribe who lives the peaceful world, which is filled with true love and true you. Thank you for listening.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that powerful testimony, Tomomi and Nungi. As I mentioned, Korea reunification plays a huge role in making this world into an ideal one. Once the ideological conflict between the peninsula is resolved, surely we can see a brighter world for world peace. I'm so grateful that we have so many young people standing up for this process, just like our two testimony givers, and I'm sure all of us were able to receive your heart well. Once again, thank you, Tomomi and Nungi. Up next, we have a short video where we'll hear from someone who has actually risked his life to fight in the front lines of the war in Korea. We'll also be sharing words from Father Moon's autobiography, which can truly grasp how frightening the situation in the peninsula was, as well as understand how much sacrifice was needed in order to save the country. Please enjoy.
A blue flash of death. It was early on a hot summer morning. I was 7 years old, but I remember the moment clearly as
A frantic neighbor burst into our living room with the words, "War had broken out. The North Korean army has crossed the 38th parallel." On the evening of June 27, 1950, 2 days after the start of the Korean War, Seoul residents streamed out of the city's ancient neighborhoods under gentle summer rain. The more they realized that they were not the only ones seeking to escape, and that they all had to cross the same bridge, the more serious and desperate they became. This was war. As soon as we had crossed the bridge, my uncle shouted, "Get down in your seats." As I squeezed down on my floor at my mother's feet, a huge explosion behind us shook our truck. There was a blue flash and a deafening sound.
I saw a light like a demon's burning eyes piercing the night. Countless civilians, as well as soldiers and policemen who were crossing the bridge, were thrown about like plastic toys, flying everywhere, cast into the river below. For us, a few meters proved to be the difference between life and death.
Our lives had been spared.
Back in the day, it was very clear what our role was in the intervention of North Korean aggression to South Korea. We basically wanted to stop the spread of communism.
What I knew then was that we were fighting against the communists, which were coming into South Korea, and we didn't want them there.
But why? Because communism is an ideology that denies the existence and the humanity of God. It doesn't allow spiritual ideas, free markets. It's a very controlling, totalitarian, God-denying ideology. And so back in the 1950s, America was very clear that we had to intercede, we had to do something, even though Korea had no significant monetary value or economic value. It was on sheer principle that we wanted to stop the spread of communism.
We were in the 10th Corps, which was run by the Army. We had an Army guy leading us, but we had our own division. The 1st Marine Division was there. The Incheon landing, and that was run by the Marines. It was a great success for him because the North Koreans were almost on into Busan, but then we started pushing them back, and that kind of trapped them a little bit, you know. So that pushed them all the way past the 38th parallel, which was a dividing line of North and South Korea. Quite a few of my friends either got wounded or got killed. Give you an example, there's 13 in a platoon, in a squad. Only 5 of us come back. 3 got killed, 5 got wounded.
The night before my scheduled execution, the bombs fell like rain in the monsoon season.
It was October 13th, 1950, and the US forces have succeeded in the Incheon landing, had come up with the peninsula to take Pyongyang, and were now pressing against Hungnam. The US military attacked Hunan with full force that night, with B-29 bombers in the lead.
The bombing was so intense that it seemed all of the Hungnam had been turned into a sea of fire. The high walls around the prison began to fall, and the guards ran for their lives.
Finally, the gate of the prison that had kept us in that place opened. At around 2 o'clock in the morning on the next day,
I walked calmly out of Hungnam prison with dignity. It was only natural for the Hungnam prison and factory to be targets for US aerial bombing operations. When the bombing began, the prison guards would leave the prisoners to take refuge in bomb shelters. They weren't concerned whether we lived or died. One day Jesus appeared right before me with a tearful face. This gave me a strong premonition, so I shouted, "Everyone stay within 12 meters of me." Soon after, that huge bomb exploded near us. Those prisoners who had stayed close to me as I told them survived.
My brother and I had kind of personal reasons for joining the Marine Corps in the first place, and that was to go to fight North Korea and the North Koreans, or Chinese and the Koreans. And we just didn't like the idea that here's somebody going to invade a country and make life miserable for the people. And so that was our primary reason for going over there.
Technically, to this day, the war still rages on. We're in an armistice. I would ask, people today to think about the unfinished business.
Well, I think the youth would be try to learn from the parents or grandparents about the sacrifices that the people made and what they've been able to accomplish. And it's a strong part of their history in growing up right now, and something that they should not forget. It's only forgotten by the people that are living here in the U.S., not the people that participated in it, nor the Korean people. And the Korean people that we've met were always very reminded. Our presence reminded most of the older people of the war and everything. Today, the kids in Korea are much like the kids here in the United States, and they don't have any feelings or anything. The war was something in the long, distant past, and if fortune was there and they still had their grandparents, they would remember, but not even their parents today remember the war. And they might remember the after effects of it, when it come to the United States and the children were born here, but they don't have the personal remembrance of the war itself, and which is very sad, really.
That's right. The warriors who shed blood on the battlefront will eternally be remembered in history. They are the brave heroes of God's providence. All of the war veterans who participated in the Korean War are now aged, and all those who are still alive today are in their late 80s and 90s. Their wish was a world of peace. Their wish was a unified Korea. I would like to thank the 16 UN member nations who sent troops to Korea, but I also wish to thank all of the nations that provided medical aid, material support to all of these 63 nations. And I wish to remember the names of each and every veteran. I wish that posterity can remember forever the name of each veteran. And also, I wish that posterity can take inspiration from these veterans, and in nations where there are no memorials, I would like to initiate a project where the Universal Peace Federation builds memorials in each of these nations. That is my offering and pledge to you today.
Thank you for that amazing presentation. We were able to capture the sacrifices that have been made to protect democracy and Christianity in the South and prevent the spread of communism. However, how many of the youth in Korea, Japan, and America are standing up and sacrificing their own lives to protect other small nations from the spread of communism? We should ask ourselves, can I do it or not? We should never forget that we are able to be here because of their sacrifice and love. What can we do in return for them? Father and Mother Moon have dedicated their lives for the reunification of North and South Korea and have touched the hearts of many people. One such individual is Dr. Teddy Che, who is a former president of the Korean Association of North LA, who was also originally from North and South Korea and is a devoted Christian himself. Let's welcome up Dr. Teddy Che.
Ramon is, I think, he's a great person for our community and the world, because his mind always peace. I want a peace in the world, what even South Korea and North Korea. The first he did, 1991, met the leader of Kim Il-sung, North Korea. I met him too when I was young. He talking about the Korean unification or peace for South Korea and North Korea. We don't need to fighting each other. This Christian life, we have to love. So he helped in North Korea, a lot of things. And he started first time to the summit with South Korea leader and North Korea leader meet together. He prepared. This is the first time happened to in Korea. So I really, at the time I was young, but that's a good idea. We have to meet each other. We don't hate each other, and we might and we talk. So there's a some meeting, he prepared meeting. This man is, I think, the best man in the world. So I joined this ambassador. So we don't do that much working, but still we working continue. Most important is continue. Mr. Moon is continue, and then he passed away to the Mother Moon. Han Hakja is continue his spirit working together. So I love it. So I saw the Mother Moon, even if she speaks so well for family. So he did first thing talking with Kim Il-sung. Okay, I prepared to the summit to the South Korea and North Korea. The second, no nuclear each other. Okay, to stop nuclear. This is the second. It's a good thing. Still going on, right? But he mentioned first. How nice. That's why I respect him. Nobody said, but he did at the time. And then he's supporting those Korean people too. And then Little Angels, the young lady, go to the show, sing a song. How nice, beautiful. And then they invite the North Korea Little Angels. They bring up to the South Korea in the world right now. So everybody, I'm joined to the politics when I met the summit, talking about, do you know angel? Oh, we know it. They don't know South Korea, but they know angels. That's why I respect Moon. Liberal Moon instead is best thing in the world. That's why I say great peacemaker. But young people, they don't care. The unification not meaning. Why we do unification? When I meet the young people, that's why we have the education for them. So that's why I always respect in Liberal Moon. He did role good thing. Even after he passed away, still my heart is always stay my heart. Thank you, Liberal Moon, always.
Thank you so much, Dr. Che, for sharing your heartfelt thoughts towards Father and Mother Moon. Just like you mentioned, our goal is to have the young people be educated on the importance of North and South reunification. If we can all be educated, I'm sure that we can make substantial steps towards world peace. Now I know going to North Korea isn't something that many of us have done. I'm sure that there aren't many people who go to the North with the purpose of reconciling the North and South together. Well, this is exactly what Father and Mother Moon did. The following video depicts their heart to the North as they enter a land where the leader of their country wanted them killed. However, their hope for an ideal world did not stop them from entering. As we play the next video, we hope you can grasp onto the heart that Father and Mother Moon had as they stepped foot into the land of North Korea.
その世界的な理念と活動で知られる世界キリスト教統一神霊協会創始者ムン・ソンミョン先生は、神の愛による人類救済と世界平和のためにこれまで実にさまざまな運動を展開してこられた。特に共産主義問題の解決、青少年の道徳的大敗の克服、またキリスト教をはじめ各宗教の調和と統一を大きな目標とされ、許し、愛し、団結せよという終生の信条をもって多くの基盤を確立された。1976年、アメリカ建国200年を祝う首都ワシントンにおいて、ムン先生は50万人の観衆に向け、アメリカと神の御胸と題した熱いメッセージを伝えた。そして次はモスクワであると宣言。神なき宗教を誇示する共産圏にこそ神の愛と真理を伝えるべきであると語られた。その結実となった1990年4月、モスクワにおいて世界言論人会議を開催。ムン先生はゴルバチョフ大統領との会談を実現された。そこでソ連が変われば世界が変わると、ソ連の再建について宗教を通じた精神復興の大切さを強く訴えられた。さらにムン先生は1991年8月、今日までの多分野にわたる国際活動の集大成ともいえる世界平和宗教連合と世界平和連合を創設された。このことにより世界人類全体が一つの家族として生きていくための中心的な世界組織を築かれたムン先生は、今神と人類救済の使命を全うする最後の峠を越えようとしている。
世界平和連合設立から3ヶ月余りのこの日、北朝鮮政府より統一教会の教師として招かれたムン・ソンミョン先生は、北京空港でその招請状を受け取られました。そしてキム・イルソン主席の差し向けた特別機で平壌へと向かわれました。
この招聘状には2つの特徴があります。その一つは、この招聘状はお堂様を統一教会の教祖として招聘したということ。これは大変なことであります。共産国として最後に残ったこの北朝鮮でありますね。この北朝鮮がお堂様を統一教会の教祖として招聘したということ、統一教会を認定したということ、またはもう一歩進みまして宗教を認定したということ、そしてその宗教の責任者、創始者としてお父様、お母様を呼んだということ、招聘したということ、これは今まで自由世界にはなかった大きな出来事であり、歴史的な事件だと私は思うものでございます。それからその招聘状はこの副総理の名前でサインをされました。なかなかこういうことはありえません。この度はこの北朝鮮の最高機関から主席、そしてその国務総理、そして副総理、 この最高部の者たちが誠の皇母様を招聘したその責任者であるということ、これもまた意義深いものであります。そしてこの度北朝鮮での誠の皇母様の歓迎接待というものは、今までこの世界のどの国でもあったことのなかった、そういうような本当に低調なる最高の国賓としての、または国家元首としての国家元首に並ぶその歓迎を受けられました。これはまた珍しくもあり涙ぐましくもあり、これ本当に歴史的であります。
ムン先生一行は木蘭館招待所においての歓迎晩餐会に招かれました。そしてユン・ギボク委員長と第1回目の会談を持たれました。
約30名ユン委員長を前にするその代表者30名を前にして、お父様は報告された内容を基盤にして哲学を説きました。それは神中心の哲学であり、それは東翼思想であり、それは誠の愛の思想でありました。
기쁨을 느끼는 거야. 하나님만 음차와 같이 축하가 같은 음차하지요. 마음이 땅 내리면 몸이 같은 무엇에 있어서 여기에 몸마음이 하는 참사랑의 관계라요.
1時間以上お話しなさいますから、もう大体の全部の思想をこれを明かししたことになるんです。もうユン委員長を中心とした北朝鮮の責任者たちは唖然とした顔が真っ青になるようで、何とも言うことのできない圧倒的なお父様の姿勢に対して何も言うことができませんでした。最後まで聞くしかありませんでした。もっと驚くべきことは、最後にお父様は神なくしての思想ではできない、神なくしての思想では統一されない、統一祖国の思想は神を中心として神をはべる思想だけでいけないということで、彼たちがもう神聖たる思想として述べたその主体の思想主張思想に対しての批判もございました。
12月5日、世界平和連合総裁であられるムン・ソンミョン先生は、海外同胞援護委員会のユン・ギボク委員長との間で共同声明を発表されました。その中で、近い数年内に祖国統一を実現すべきである、離散家族の面会を92年から実施することなど数項目が合意され、互いに固く手と手を取り合いました。
これは政府の資格でない、ただシベリアンのプライベートのただのその訪問のお客さんとしては、これは歴史にこういうことはなかったでしょう。
12月6日、ムン先生がかつて収容されたことのあるフンナム収容所近くのマジョン主席公館において、キム・イルソン主席との歴史的会談を実現されました。それは南北統一の成業を成し遂げる一年で生きてこられたムン先生にとって、またそれを見守り続けてきた神にとって、まさに待ちわびた瞬間でした。
これを約1時間半にわたって行われました。ここで金日成主席は歓迎の辞を述べ、だいぶお父様が話されました。本当の祖国統一の熱望、それを理解と和解と協力と統一、こういう順序によって持っていくということ、そして 統一は平和的手段によってなされている。その間にその金主席は全面的に協力するというこういうことを中心とした語り合いというものはこれは1時間半独特と説くお父様の国を愛するそのお父様の姿勢、その神を愛するお父様の姿勢、そして統一を念望する熱烈と統一を願うお父様の正義に対して金日成主席は敬意を表すばかりでなく3回にわたって拍手をしました。新聞に大きな写真が出ることはめったにないということであります。この重心を見ますとここにお父様が金日成主席の手をしっかりと握っている輪を見ることができるのでございます。
神主義が北朝鮮を吹き抜けた。そして誠の愛がその凍りついた国土を溶かし始めた。神なき宗教の共産主義がチュチェ思想が音を立てて崩れようとしている。しかしその崩れゆく体制を見捨ててしまうのではなく、救いの手を差し伸べ、さらにその魂までも救済していく。それが汝の敵をも愛せよと聖書に謳われたごとくの愛の実践である。まさにその中心人物が今回8日間の訪朝で40年の恩習を誠の愛によって許し愛し抜いたムン・ソンミョン先生であった。
Wow, that was amazing to see Father and Mother Moon's accomplishment going to North Korea. Amazing to see how much Father and Mother Moon poured their love, but it does not end there. They have been continuing to work for the reunification of North and South Korea. Even after the passing of Father Moon, Mother Moon has been continuing to fulfill God's will. Now at this time, please allow me to introduce Minister Koki Tamura, who is part of the National Education Team of the Young Christian Leadership Conference, which is a partner organization of CARP, to share with us what we can do to contribute for the reunification of North and South Korea.
Hello everybody. I humbly thank you for this great opportunity to speak before you all in this HyoJeong Conference. My name is Koki Tamura. I am a part of the National Education Team for the Young Christian Leadership Conference, or YCLC, a partner organization of CARP. And in my work with YCLC, it has become my understanding that this issue of reunification in Korea is a topic that is pertinent not only to the people of Korea and all those participating in this conference, but to the entire body of Christ in this country. As you all have been learning through this conference, 70 years ago, the Korean Peninsula broke out into a conflict over the ideological differences between the democratic nation of South Korea and the communist-backed North Korea, and this has led to a tragic history of division within the land since the end of the conflict. It was none other than the nation of America that led the charge against the atheistic communist regime of North Korea and communist China from spreading its influence throughout the entire peninsula. However, this mission to bring complete liberation was not brought to fruition, as only half of the Korean peninsula was liberated. The direct consequence of the conflict has resulted in the creation of the 38th parallel, a border of strife and lamentation that divides the Korean peninsula to this day, where things like love of family and clan and the reunification of blood relatives are obstructed. However, this geographical divide is but a superficial boundary, as underneath this layer of physical division is the fierce and relentless confrontation between atheism and theism, the struggle to proclaim God's existence in a land that was once fervent with the spirit of Christianity and God's love. In fact, 100 years ago, it was even deemed the Jerusalem of the East because of the influence of American missionaries that sparked a great awakening throughout the entire land of Korea. But this fervent faith and love for God is now impossible for half of the entire peninsula because of the communist regime of North Korea. Throughout Korea's long history, the Korean people have been able to preserve their country's beautiful land for millennia because of their patriotism and willingness to sacrifice for their nation. In fact, Father and Mother Moon have upheld that the Korean Peninsula is the land where all civilizations will blossom and bear fruit. But this cannot take place if the current generation of leaders, young people like yourselves, cannot step up for Korea. The United Nations, led by the great Christian nation of America, maintained this very spirit of sacrifice 7 decades ago, risking their lives in an unfamiliar land to protect freedom and peace. It is through this spirit and determination that the land of Korea can be healed and the division between the North and the South can finally dissolve. Korea, please do not forget this sacrifice that these young people, even some who were teenagers, gave for the sake of your freedom. And America, please remember this spirit of sacrifice that the nation displayed for the sake of the Korean people and the world to have the right to practice their faith freely. So as YCLC, I am calling upon all of you to stand for Korea, stand for the unity between North and South Korea, and introduce the ideology of absolute faith, love, and obedience for God to those who cannot practice this freely. This was the late Father Moon's ardent wish, and Mother Moon now continues to carry on this desire of unity in her homeland because they strongly believe that the Korean Peninsula is a land where all civilizations will blossom and bear fruit. But this can only happen when the ideological division between these two opposing nations can come crumbling down. So, brothers and sisters, let us all take a stand for the Korean people. Let us take a stand for Korea. Let us take a stand for God. I thank you all for this opportunity to speak. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Minister Koki. This divide that we see between North and South is not just a physical divide, but a fierce confrontation of theism and atheism. Pyongyang was once called the Jerusalem of the East because of the American missionaries that brought the Christian spirit to the land of Korea. However, now half of Korea is not able to practice their faith and love for God because of the communism in the North. So thank you for reminding us of the spirit of sacrifice that America, as a Christian nation, had set forth for the Korean people to be able to practice their faith freely. Once again, let us stand together for Korea and for God with a heart of sacrifice to bring this reunification in the Korean Peninsula. Now we are coming to the end of this HyoJeong Conference. To close off this program, I am honored to invite Dr. Cha Sik-yeon, who is the Regional President of North America for Family Federation, to offer a closing prayer for this HyoJeong Conference.
I'd like to offer a prayer now. Beloved Heavenly Parents, our victorious true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind, on this precious day today, thank you very much for allowing us to have the HyoJeong Conference, where young people from the United States, Korea, and Japan come together to remember true parents' vision and wish for a new unified Korea, centering on Heavenly Parents and Christianity. Thank you very much for allowing us this precious time for all participants to revive and make a determination, focusing on the journey and words of true parents who, more than anyone else, have worked and practiced their whole lives for the unification of North and South Korea. At this time, we must express our gratitude to all of those who have walked the path of blood, sweat, tears, and sacrifice for the unification of North and South Korea, and strive to ensure that their sacrifices will bear fruit in the future. Today, through the inspiring HyoJeong Conference, together we all want to stand up and cry out for a new unified Korea, which is the wish of heaven and the earnest desire of true parents and the Korean people. Furthermore, we will all raise our voices for a new unified Korea. By doing so, we will surely achieve the unification of North and South Korea by 2022. Since this is the time when thousands of young people are gathered together like this and marching as one for the unification of North and South Korea, I sincerely hope once again that you will make history and bless us so that the unification of North and South Korea, which is the wish of our Heavenly Parent and the wish of our true parents, can be realized quickly in this land. I report all this in the name of Chon Chik-kyung, a blessed central family. Amen and Aju.
Thank you, Dr. Young, for that wonderful prayer to close us off. Now, this officially concludes our 5th HyoJeong Conference. We would like to thank all of you for joining us, and we hope you were able to take away an important message from this event. Before we end, I want to say one final word. Change will not come if we wait for someone or some other time. We have to recognize that we are the instruments that can create change in this world. The outcome of this world depends on how much investment we as a whole make. So let's work together and make Korea unification possible. Thank you for joining, and I will see you in the next event.